Hey guys, I am back with my final game from Patio Slaughter, where I was taking my 7 Sins Warriors. So at this point I had 2 points and I had 20 points, so I was on 22. I don't really know where that put me, but Dan had done pretty well, because Dan I think won his first round and won his second round. So maybe like a little bit above the middle, which I guess 22 would indicate, but yeah, it wasn't really like in striking distance of the podium or anything, but still, like, yeah, getting an opponent who had a pretty decent time, so it should be a tough game basically. He brought his Sylvans. He had a Druidism Master on a Dragon, he had an Avatar of Nature, he had a Blade Dancer BSB, he had a big block of Spears, like Forest Guard with Spears, he had a big block of Dryads, he had a medium block of Archers, 6 Kestrels, 15 Blade Dancers with Banner of Speed, a Forest Eagle, and 5 Briar Maidens with a Champ. So basically what I thought about this list was that I think the Blade Dancers, because they're going to have the BSB in there and they've got the Banner of Speed, they're faster than, like, they're +1 advance in their Swift Stride, whereas I don't have Swift Stride and I'm only at advance 5. I was thinking they'd be quite a problem because if they charge Chosen, I think they just like rinse whatever unit they're fighting basically. That was my assumption anyway, particularly because Dan can give them some pretty good survivability by popping a Druidism buff on them or something. So they were sort of my main concern. The Kestrels are also, like, basically it's the Kestrels and them who are the biggest thing for me. The Avatar of Nature is sort of less so because they don't have any important characters to like that would lose in a duel to him. So particularly because I've also got quite a few flaming standards. I've got an alchemy wizard to give something flaming if I need it. I think I had quite a few tools that could deal with the Avatar of Nature basically. And the objective we were playing was hold the center. So pretty much what I was thinking here was Dan has quite an advantage in movement, so what I was likely going to have to do is try and just sort of hold the center and protect my flanks basically was my idea. Getting into the game, this is after my turn 1 moves. So we were playing diagonal. Dan won the roll for sides. So I just set up how I did and dropped everything for first. Up behind the house, or a little gondola gazebo thing over here, were my Envy Knights, Envy Warriors. My Wrath chosen, my Lust chosen with my Wizards, my Greed chosen, my Gluttony chosen, Chaff, Pride Knights, and my Sloth chosen over here. Dan had his Avatar over here, his Kestrel Knights here, his Dragon was here, his Spears, his Blade Dancers, his Dryads, and his Archers over here. So pretty much because I had first turn, I figured, and this, by the way, the thing that looks a bit fieldish is the forest that Dan brought with the Sylvan Elves. Pretty much I was thinking if I can just sort of control the center, it was going to be hard for Dan to push at me. So my main aim was just sort of taking that space and holding on to the objective. I also had probably a better ranged output, so I could threaten both of his characters with some of my Alchemy and Hellfire, basically. Hellfire less so, but if I give it rerolls to wound, I'll make him reroll armor saves, I should say, it becomes more threatening. Throughout the game I was a little bit disappointed by the amount of output that I had, because I generally, in terms of range, because I generally found that like Quicksilver Lash, good obviously, but I'm pretty sure I didn't take the Spear for some reason. I don't know why not. Oh, I think I took Glory of Gold, Word of Iron, Quicksilver Lash, and Hereditary because I didn't have the magical heirloom. So I should have taken Spear because the Hereditary isn't enough when if I need reroll armor from it, and I generally don't want to be within 18 inches of like the dragon. So realistically, I needed, along with Quicksilver Lash, I needed the I don't know what the spear's called, the whatever the bolt thrower spell from Alchemy is called. So that was sort of a mistake where I was sort of sitting there a lot of the time going like, well, I don't have any, like if I was going to play mainly for the objective and not push aggressively, a lot of the times my magic is going to be trying to damage. But I was usually sitting there going, well, I have to be 24 inches away, so you can stop Quicksilver Lash, and then I'll boost range on Hellfire, and you get to throw up armor save, and I can't really do anything about it. So, yeah, still, I don't normally play damage magic very often. Still sort of learning how much is needed, and it seems like quite an obvious thing in retrospect when I think about, Hellfire only being range 18. I pretty much can't safely in this matchup be boosting it so that it's reroll armor saves. But at the time I didn't think about that, so was left during the game realizing a mistake that, if I ran the list again, I'd know. So it'd just be a thing that I'd get better with, basically. Yeah, pretty much as I said, like, this is all about controlling the center. The Envy Warriors over here are just trying to make it so that he can't push up really aggressively with like his Kestrels and his Avatar of Nature to be threatening a flank. They're demanding to be dealt with, and there's an impassable terrain in between sort of my army and them. So it's sort of like if you come over to deal with them, it's a little bit harder for you to threaten flanks and stuff. Okay, so this would be my turn 2. Essentially, yeah, the two chosen here are within 6 of the objective. I'm chaffing his Blade Dancer, so if he wants to charge, he's going to be well within charge range of my chosen. Which is like, if I charge him, I'm striking at the same time as him, and I'm actually then perfectly happy. Then again, he probably just goes ward save, but if he charges them, he won't be stubborn. Yeah, no, I think probably fine, because he wouldn't have a forest under him anymore. And yeah, basically just making it really hard, because he hasn't got that many scoring units, making it really hard for him to get into the center and contest it against my strong units. Main thing that happened over here, so he pushed his Avatar at me, but not too aggressively, so I just shuffled my Envy Warriors back. But the main thing that sort of I did of any note here was I pushed up the Sloth chosen, because I felt like they could probably beat the Dryads. I don't really know for sure. Like, I didn't know for sure at the time, so I'm like, well, I've got 19 attacks hitting you on 3s, winning you on 4s. You got a 5-up ward save. I've also got spiked shields. You'd have less attacks than that coming back at me. Hitting on 4s, wounding on 4, 5s even. I feel like I probably win that. He's just got... The only problem there is that he's got the ranks. And I feel like we probably don't do a whole lot to each other. So potentially it's one of those ones where his static res could just win it, which is what I was concerned about. But I was kind of happy to just find out what happened, to be honest. I don't know how many pictures I've got here, but it's not a whole lot, so there might be a few jumps. Yeah, okay. So this is my next turn. So basically Dan charged me with my Sloth chosen with the Dryads. The first round of combat he won by I think 1, and I held on my reroll blade. And then the next round I won. His BSB wasn't in range, so he broke, despite being steadfast, and I ran him down. So this is a really bad blurry picture, actually. Sorry about that. So yeah, you can see he's taken off his Dryads, and my Sloth guys are just marching up, basically not afraid of anything, in a pretty annoying position to deal with, really. Other than that, I think because of the position of both the Blade Dancers and the Dragon, I didn't want to stay in the center, basically, because where they were, I was in too much danger of getting charged by both, and which would be a problem for me more than being charged by one where I could set up like counters or something. So I basically just backed off and went, I've got my 1 point. If you want to chuck one of your now 2 remaining scoring units in, be my guest, because once you chuck them in there, you're going to be in trouble. Particularly because his chaff was really far back. If the chaff was much closer, I'd then be trying to kill it with Hellfire or something. So it made a bit of sense for him to try and keep it back, but it sort of couldn't stop my counters at this point. I don't know what is going to happen next, but I know that his next move is to bring the Blade Dancers with BSB over in front of my Sloth guys. So there we go. So we've got a few things set up here. Basically, the Avatar of Nature just pushed at my Envy Warriors because he'd failed to charge the previous turn, and he just sort of went, actually, I'll just go at you and make you have to deal with me so I don't have to keep this, you moving back 2 inches, me trying to charge you long distance. He just sort of guarantees it. But at this point, it's like turn... I've had what? This would be like my turn 4. So at this point, I'm pretty sure, like this Avatar of Nature, he might kill my Envy Warriors and I lose them, but he's not doing anything in the game, and I'm kind of okay that those guys have sacrificed themselves to keep that flank pretty secure. The Wrath guys just pushed up, basically out of line of sight of things. I don't know why I cared about the line of sight for the spears. Seems like I would just rinse them, but whatever. I was out of line of sight of them. Greed Chosen were touching the objective again. And yeah, basically otherwise I just sort of backed off. I made a mistake, and actually the Kestrel Knights are in the flank. They are single file, sort of facing south at the moment, because Dan wanted to get them out of line of sight of my Wrath guys. They are actually in the flank of my Greed Chosen, which wasn't what I wanted. And I thought I don't think I measured it. I think I eyeballed and went, yeah, it's fine, but it wasn't really even close to fine. Like the line was vaguely like that, or something. Sort of, yeah, I don't know if, I'm not drawing a very straight line with my mouse, but vaguely like that. Like it wasn't, like if it was sort of down the middle, I'd be like, oh, I did mean to keep them in the front, but when it was so far off, it's like, nah, punish me for that, bro. Sloth Chosen didn't want to charge, basically. They were just sitting there going like, we're going to get rinsed by these Blade Dancers, so I'm going to make you spend one of your turns killing me, basically. Other than that, because of the proximity of these Kestrels to my Lust Warriors, and I couldn't get far enough away, I think it was like maximum was like 11 maybe, where if they went in, they'd just be able to snipe out my characters because I don't have defenses. I just bailed my characters out and put them behind the Gluttony Chosen, because realistically he doesn't have much by way of range damage anyway. What will happen next is these spears and these Kestrels will charge the flank. Kestrel will go the flank and spears will go the front of my Greed Chosen. But I did put a flammable token from the attribute of Alchemy onto those spears before in my magic phase. So we'll see where we get to. Okay, I'm just going to explain it from here. Actually, where are we? Hang on. Yeah, okay. So basically, they came in. The Blade Dancer charged my Sloth Chosen. The spears managed to get up Stone Skin, because I think it was like a really high roll or something. I don't know. Whatever happened, I failed to dispel it. It was probably the only one that I really cared about. But I didn't dispel it, so it went through. And that meant that basically I looked at it, and previously where I was going to go Spike Shields, and just sort of go like, even if he wounds me, I'm hammering him to death every time, or half the time he wounds me. But then once he got Stone Skin, it was toughness 5. I just went with Great Weapons, because I'd still get a bunch. I'd still have rerolls. I'd wounding on 3s with rerolls, still hitting him on 3s. Like, I couldn't rely on Spike Shields, essentially, and taking that, because he's got Stone Skin, it wouldn't have done as much damage. I don't get rerolls with them. And I would then be in danger of, like, particularly with the Kestrels in the flank, him doing 5 or 6 wounds, me doing 7 or 8, him having the ranks, the banners, the charges and stuff, and just taking me off, basically. So, yeah, I went with Great Weapons, and I ended up pretty much just butchering that combat. I lost 3 or 4 guys, but I killed a whole lot of spears. I killed the champion in the Kestrels. He failed his steadfast test. I didn't run him down, but I got them later on. So basically, we'll see the picture here where they're running over here. I didn't catch him. The Kestrel Knights over here are fleeing. The Avatar of Nature is actually having a whole lot of trouble with my Envy Warriors over there. And at the end of the game, I actually got him down to 1 wound left, so I cut half points for him, with that shitty little unit of 14 with a flaming banner. And then basically, the Blade Dancers who charged my Sloth Chosen pretty much bounced. So I had Word of Iron up on them at the time, which my plan was basically like, if you're going to charge me, I'll do wounds back when I make armor saves. I'll still die, but I'll take off some Blade Dancers. It'll make it easier for my other things to deal with you. But no, he did, by the looks of it, 2 wounds to me. I think 1 in a challenge, which is why it split across 2 models. I killed his BSB, because his BSB, I did 1 wound to him with a spike shield, and then out of my 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, I did 2 more wounds, and I killed him. He didn't save either. And then I won the combat by like 1 or 2, and he didn't have a BSB anymore, and he ran. I didn't catch him, but I did get into the Briar Maidens next, who I'm just going to munch through, because I'm also going to get my Knights into them, and then I'm going to kill the Blade Dancers with my Overrun, basically. And that's pretty much... Why have we got 2 of these? Okay, I don't know why that's at the end. Anyway, this is my last picture. That's pretty much it. I did lose my Envy Warriors. The bees rallied. I'm pretty sure I got the spears. I at least got the chaff, I don't know. I didn't get the dragon, but I did get the Blade Dancers and the Briar Maidens. So at the end, I'd lost my Envy Warriors. I did lose my Sloth guys at the end because they got shot to death. So I lost my Envy Warriors and I lost my Sloth Chosen. Everybody else was alive. And I actually don't think I got those spears, and they rallied at the end. But so I got Blade Dancers, BSB, Briar Maidens, half points for the Avatar, whatever else I got, I don't know. Let's go back to the list. Briar Maidens, Forest Eagles, Blade Dancers, not the Kestrels, not the Archers. I got the Dryads, not the Forest Guard, but I got the BSB. And I didn't get either of the characters, but I did get half points for the Avatar. So pretty much it was good there for a 16-4, so 13-7 on points, and went to 16-4 with objective, which I think was a pretty solid result. I think maybe Dan would have been better served being more aggressive, because once I had first turn, it was like he needed to do something early, or I would just win the objective, because I'd take the area and sort of he'd never be able to get into it with his scorers. So maybe taking the risk of putting his eagle in where it would be chaffed, maybe even, I don't know, it doesn't have that much chaff. Might have been difficult, to be honest. But this was sort of like quite symbolic of the army, I think. This game I didn't actively do anything. I mean, I pushed the Sloth Chosen up because I was like, I don't really care about these guys. Let's see what happens with them. And they did really, really well. They were the main MVPs for the tournament. I was surprised. I didn't really think they'd do that great, but they, particularly because with Word of Iron and Spike Shields, they're actually pretty amazingly tanky. But yeah, like, there wasn't much that I was doing in this game that was active. I was like, I had a solid game plan coming in, like, particularly because I won, Dan won the roll for side, which meant that I got to take first turn. It was like, I'm going to take this objective, I'm going to make you force this game into being anything other than a 13-7. Sorry, excuse me. So then basically, it's almost like I brought a situation to the board where I couldn't force a big win. I could just have a small win. And it'd be difficult for Dan to dislodge me from the small win. But basically, it was then up to Dan to go, like, do I try and turn the tables? I know it's not in my favour. So I think he knew, I'm pretty sure we discussed at the time, it was like, I don't think sending these spears, even with the Kestrels into the flank, is going to beat these Greed Chosen. But I don't have another way to break into the middle. I don't have another way to get the objective. I'm going to have to try it. So realistically, the only points that I got in this game were from the Tree Father Ancient, who charged my Envy Warriors. I think my Envy Warriors kind of overperformed. Mainly probably because they stuck and like not enough of them died. But it wasn't like wildly amazing that they did so much damage to the Tree Father because they've got the reroll to wound. I got points for the Triads because they charged my Sloth Chosen. My Sloth Chosen were better. I got points for the Blade Dancers because the Blade Dancers charged my Sloth Chosen, and I think I got lucky more than anything else there. But still not like wildly because of the 1-up armor save. It's quite a volatile combat, I guess, which is not something that either me or my opponent predicted ahead of time. But yeah, like, so all of my points came from charges that he did to me. And then I had I had pursues and overruns, but I didn't make any charges except my Knights into the Briar Maidens. Yeah. So it's just a list that didn't feel very active. Like, I don't know, you guys tell me what you think, I guess, because I played this and I had a great time. Because honestly, the list wasn't all that mentally taxing. It wasn't all that volatile. It was sort of like, I can deploy this, I can play it fairly solidly, I can have a great time, I can chat with my mates. The Beast Herd list that you've seen a lot of is a lot more sort of like, all right, I need to use this well, but I'm applying all the pressure. I'm using like all of the skill that I have to try and win this game. Whereas this one's more like, I just have a solid plan and we'll see if you can break my plan. So I don't know. You guys would have to tell me what you think about how interesting the battle reports are. Because to me, these ones feel a lot more stale. They feel like I don't have much to show you other than just going like, hey, this is what happened. Whereas with my Beast Herds, it's more sort of like, all right, like this is what I was doing here. Like this was my plan. This is sort of like the movement like the maximization, or like this is how I'm using this terrain. There's a lot more sort of going on, I think, when I'm playing Beast Herds. Like I can explain my tactics. I can explain what's happening, I guess. Whereas with these games, it's more like you could pretty much tell from deployment. Like if I just showed you the picture of deployment, you'd probably go like, so you probably wouldn't predict the whole Sloth Chosen thing, but you'd be like, oh yeah, so you'll control the center and he'll stay back. Which is, I think, pretty much like would have technically been a better plan for Dan to just sit back and let the standoff happen for 6 turns and lose 13-7. But nobody really wants that. Like, the problem is a little bit like Dwarves, where you sort of sit there and you're like, I don't want a 10-10. And your opponent's like, I can't do anything but get a 10-10. Like, it's like, for me to win, if you're playing Dwarves, like, for me to win, you have to charge me. And I have to pick up my points that way, a lot of the time. And a lot of the time as an opponent, you're like, well, a 10's not good enough, so I guess I'll do that. I don't want to do it because I know the odds here. I know how good your blocks are, but I have to charge you. So it felt a little bit like that, and it felt a little bit unfair for me to be sitting there and going like, all right, well, you want to make a game out of this, so come and lose the game for trying. It felt like it just, I don't know. I didn't like. Normally, I'm the one who's being aggressive, and it's like, I'll take this risk and I'll beat you in this game. And it felt a little bit unsporting for me to be sitting there going like, nah, I've got an objective win. See what you can do to stop me. And forcing Dan to be like, all right, fine, I'll have the balls in this game. I'll do something risky. Which again, I talked about this in my last video. I think that if I was able to take a more MSU list, like if I could take 8 units of 5 chosen rather than 4 units of 3 of almost 10 and 1 of 6. Like, if I could take more small units, I would, and I think I could create a more active board space. I think I could be more aggressive, and I think I could do more interesting things. But I'm not allowed to, which is I don't know. I don't love some of the restrictions, or a lot of the restrictions in ninth, to be honest. I don't really think they're needed. Balance is so good, I think half the time they're not needed. People just need to stop asking for everything to be nerfed when they have trouble dealing with it. It seems like a lot of people, the first thing, their first point of call is, they faced... The reason I'm pretty sure why the Chosen limit was introduced is because there was lists running around with 9 units of 5 Wrath Chosen with great weapons that were apparently really strong. I know one of them at one tournament did well here before it was nerfed, but it seems like people's first port of call is always I played against this and it was really strong. You gotta nerf that. You gotta remove that. And it's maybe spend a little bit of time trying to figure out how to play against it. I'd love to have less restrictions in general around the game, which would be nice. But yeah, I think that this Warriors list is one that I would take at home and be cool, I'm just going to play... Because when you're just hanging out, it matters a lot less. I could be particularly because I can either play that game as I did now if we're having a relatively serious game, but I could also just be I'm just going to push and we're going to see what happens. Push intelligently, but taking the suboptimal risks that I chose not to take in this game, for instance, where I was I'm not going to give those Blade Dancers a chance to just rinse through my unit. But I think this would return to being more of a... Well, not return to be. It will now become more of an at-home hobby kind of army for me. I will say, though, one of the reasons why I wanted to take this and why I wanted to do reports on this is because... I know the forums are mostly just people complaining about everything all the time, so, it's not that surprising. But a lot of the Warriors forums are in response to the nerfs to single models and stuff, they're you need to give us buffs to all these other things that nobody uses. They can't use them because they suck. I don't think that Chosen suck. I think Chosen are fine. They just don't allow you to play as aggressively as single models do. But you could take a lot of these lists that go I've got 5 Chosen Knights, and you could drop a unit of 10 Chosen in and just go cool, this is slightly different, but these Chosen are still going to be really, really good, because Chosen are really good if you use them well. So this list is quite skewed to be this is all infantry and 1 Knight unit, but if you were taking a more balanced list, you could easily fit Chosen in, and you could easily find many ways that they would contribute really well to the game in ways that a lot of the rest of your list probably can't. Not much else in your list is going to be I've got 30 attacks at agility 5. Oh, I charge you, they're agility 6. I think Chosen are quite good, to be honest. And in a list like this, the list is too limited. I wouldn't say at a competitive level you should take, 30 or 35. But if you want to take a unit of Chosen, I have absolutely no doubt you could do that in a very competitive list without the Halberd and be fine. They're good enough, basically, for you to take. So anybody who's saying that they're useless and there's no reason to take them, I just think you're wrong. I think Chosen are plenty good. You just need to use them and actually give them a try more often than you do, I think. That's basically my summary of the event. I've got another online one happening right now. I just played Dwarves, and I've got ID coming up next. I know you guys will be really happy. People who started off watching this channel, I thought that I was just here for ID content. You haven't been playing ID in ages, mate. It's okay. We've got another ID game coming up. We're all good. I'm taking my stock standard beast herds. I'm not brave enough to take an experimental list like this to one of these international teams tournaments. People are too good. Their lists are too good, and I just get slapped around. So I'm taking my beast herds because I know they're good. I know I can play them well. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, though. I think, in general, if I'm playing in online events, I'll probably taking my beast herds more often, but at more of my local events, I'll probably be experimenting a little bit more, taking a few more random stuff. Mainly just because at local events, it's not filled with ETC players. Lists are often a lot softer. So if I take something softer, I've got better chances of doing decent. Like at this tournament where I played against two really good players and one guy who's still learning, admittedly. But Dan and Sam are both really good, and I got slapped around by Sam, for sure. But Dan's list is solid. He had 2 wins in the day. Dan's a solid player, but I managed to get a win against him. But I think that if everybody that I was playing was at least Dan's level, and had lists at least as good as his, I think this is sort of an outlier in terms of how successful I'd be, which is the problem with those international events. Everyone's so good and their lists are so good a lot of the time that I end up looking at all the lists and going I don't have an answer for 8 out of 8 of these lists. I don't know what I'm going to do. So yeah, that will probably be my vibe going forward. More chill local tournaments. Probably 2 days I'd be more inclined to take armies that I'm trying to win with, but 1 day is, I think, just taking experimental stuff and having a good time, less competitively, basically. The end result for this tournament was pretty good. I came 5th overall, but when I put in the scores for round 2, I forgot to put in our victory points for the tiebreaker. So I ended up 5th behind Bobo, but because I got 4,900 points in my round 2, that I didn't put in, victory points that is, I actually would have been ahead of him on points killed. So if I'd remembered to do that, I would have ended up being 4th, which isn't a huge deal, but essentially I think it's a soft endorsement of the decentness of my list, basically, and the concept and the fact that pretty much in 9th you can take anything and it's fine. Take whatever you want, play with it decently, and you'll do fine. And if you don't want to take a risk that big, just go hey, you know what, I've been taking this unit from Special, this as my 4th scoring unit, I'm now going to replace that with Chosen. I'm going to see how they go, and you'll probably be surprised and they'll be really good. That's my suggestion here. Anyway, I've talked for 30 minutes, so I'll catch you lads next time. Cheers.